friend of mine used to always put a cough drop in when he went to preach. And he knew when he was done with the cough drop that it was time to end the sermon. And one day, the sermon went on and on and on. And his wife said, "Honey, why did the sermon go on so long?" And he said, "Yeah, I got the cough drop mixed up with a button." I promise you this is a cough drop. So, Jesus has appeared to those disciples 2 times. We don't know the timeline of this. We don't know how much space has happened. But Jesus has appeared twice. And so today, it's got to be kind of confusing, don't you think? Jesus was their leader, and in a very quick period of time, he was arrested, killed, and like they were trying to understand life without Jesus as their leader, and then bam, Jesus is alive. And what does that mean? So it's a really hard time for them. I like to imagine Peter when he says, "I'm going fishing." I like to imagine him saying, "I need to go to my happy place." So I've been thinking about the things that give me great joy, the places I go when I need to figure things out or take a break from figuring things out. Anybody have a place that they like to go? Where do you like to go, Amari? To your room, okay. Anybody else have a place they like to go? Church, okay. Yeah. Your garden, love it. Yeah, Holy Hill, nice. I like that too. Yeah, anybody else? My godparents own property on a lake. It's a very small lake near Oconomowoc. And there's no motorized anything, and you can go and get in a canoe and paddle around. And we used to make up stories about, sunken rowboats being battleships. And, as you walk around, you can see heron and crane and wild turkeys. And we've named the crane, there's a mom, dad, and a baby that we call Lucy, Desi, and little Ricky. So, I like to imagine, though, that these disciples, all of those who went with Peter that day, have gone to a place where it's heavy in physical work, but they know what they're doing. They know how it works. They all have their roles, and they like to embrace it. And at the end, there's usually a reward with fish. Except for today, there's no fish. So they hear this voice from the side that tells them to do something crazy, which is throw their nets out on the right side. When you are in a groove with people and you say, "Hey, bam, let's go," you know what role you're going to play, right? If you're in a really good team that works well together, each person takes their piece, they help the other. But you don't mess up that order very much, do you? Because if you mess up that order, you don't know what's going to happen. And if Jesus is saying, go to the other side of the boat, the order is completely messed up, folks. Everybody who's doing things has to now do it opposite or has a different position. And what's amazing to me is the result of that is this huge miracle of 153 fish. Now, in today's day, that's not a big miracle, but we have all the automated things, right? And we have multiple nets and more ropes and unlimited resources. They had limited resources. The result of this amazing miracle is that they go to shore. Peter jumps in the water and swims, leaving everybody behind to sort of lug in these fish. And when they get there to the shore, they see Jesus. And they see this fire, and what does Jesus do? But once again, Jesus feeds them. Come on, bring the fish. Let's eat. Let's eat breakfast. Then we have this confrontation between Jesus and Peter. That's sort of the summary of what happens from the disciples' side, right? So here's Jesus. Let's redo this with a summary from Jesus' side. Here's Jesus looking at his disciples out in the lake. He sees them fishing, and he remembers the first time he called his disciples, and he invited them to come and fish for people. And they left those nets, and they came to follow him. And Jesus invites them into a miracle. Just throw your nets on the other side. Reminding them of the miracle when their nets were overflowing. So they've got this boat full of nets, and they realize who is standing in front of them, Jesus. And what does Jesus do, or what does Peter do? He runs to Jesus, just like he's done so many times, right? They get to the beach, and there's a charcoal fire. Now, the charcoal fire is pretty important, because the only other time the Greek word for this is used is when Peter is standing at a charcoal fire outside where Jesus is held in his trial. It's the same place where Peter stands and says, I tell you, I don't know the man. I don't know Jesus. I'm not one of his disciples. I tell you, I don't know the man. And then the rooster crowed. So Peter swims as fast as he can, trying to get to Jesus as fast as he can. I don't know if he's recounting this story or not, but Jesus is, I betcha. And then we get to this piece at the end with Peter. This piece at the end with Peter. It's huge. Now, I got to tell you, I want you to raise your hand if you're with me on this. When I was a kid, there were 3 disciples who I looked down on because one was Judas, who betrayed Jesus and then left. The second one was Thomas, who doubted that Jesus was really alive. And the third one was Peter, who denied that he knew Jesus. Anybody else with me that you look down on those 3 disciples for that reason, those reasons? Yeah. This text challenges me to look at that differently. What if it isn't about the personal wrong done by Peter to Jesus? What if it is about Peter and Judas and Thomas, who've forgotten who they are? Now, let's go through that a minute. They've spent 3 years walking with Jesus, talking with Jesus, preaching, being empowered to heal. And Jesus dies, and it sort of feels like it all falls apart. He's arrested, and it feels like it falls apart. Judas is part of the arrest, and it feels like it falls apart. And what if you look in your gospel reading today, it says here, Simon, son of John, do you love me? This isn't just a personal question of how you feel, Simon. This is, are you willing to be part of this discipleship? Are you willing to be a follower, be someone who shows the way to others? Are you willing, Peter? Are you on the team, Peter? You forgot it for a minute at the fire. Now I'm bringing you to a new fire. And we're all sitting here and we're having breakfast and we're fully satisfied and we've witnessed a miracle and I am alive. Are you ready to be on the team of disciples, Peter? I like that version a lot better. And I like that version, I like that understanding a lot better because it reminds me that Peter still has a place in the community. And if you read that last part, Jesus even goes so far as to say this is the kind of death you're going to live, or you're going to live out, right? Peter's death is one on a cross. I'm pretty sure it's upside down, too. People are going to lead you where you don't want to go because you are showing them and pointing them to the love and power of Christ. Because you have sat here and ate fish and bread with your living Lord, who reminds you that you are still a disciple and that your presence and your work and your voice are important to all of us. Peter, you are my chosen one for this role. Oftentimes I think when we think about our sin or the ways in which we're detached from people, we think about it from the perspective of I'm just hurting my friend, or if I wait long enough, it'll just sort of resolve. We don't think about the bigger picture of the community and how important it is that we are united with each other in order to claim our role as God's disciples. It's a bigger deal when we say that, isn't it? Excuse me. Thinking for a moment that we can just keep breathing and let time heal it. Time will, probably. But how much quicker and how much more will time heal it when we are brave enough to say, you hurt me. I don't like this. I'm sorry. And in so doing, live out our Christian faith. Live out our followership to God. Remember, follow me. Being a disciple is a hard thing. Being a follower of Christ and one who brings other people to Christ is a hard thing because it requires us to deny what we want in the moment. Excuse me. I'm going to try a drink. It's hard there because we can justify the reasons we might be impatient, annoyed, frustrated, angry. You got any other words? I bet you do. Come on, lay them on me. Steaming. Disappointed. Amari? Furious. I love that word, furious. Justified. How many of you can list off the whole reason why you are justified not only to feel how you feel, but act how you did? I love that. Doesn't help me in the long run, but I love it in the moment. Friends, I'm going to give you some bad news. That's not what God is calling us to do. God is calling us to figure out what's going on with us and then go and love and address our community. Because we're stronger when that happens. And maybe it's not 153 fish, but I'm going to tell you it's a miracle. It's a miracle when we are reunited with those whom we love. And we are able to continue to do the work God is calling us to do without dragging the baggage of pain behind us. I don't know what God is calling you to do, oh disciple friends. I don't know what God's calling you to do. Some days I'm not even sure what God's calling me to do, so. But what I do know is that God is calling us to do that every day. To wonder and to figure out and to ask, to explore the bags we're dragging behind us, and to say, no matter how many times Jesus asks us, do you love me? To say, you know I love you. Knowing that we are renewed by the risen Lord. Amen? Amen.